What is going on, guys? Just before this episode starts, we are ecstatic to announce that we are having our first event. It is an early Season 3 launch. It is early because we accidentally booked a holiday to Phuket right when Season 3 drops. So we will be out of the country, but doesn't matter. We'll have an early one with you guys. So it's a public event, 27th of September from like 7 p.m. onwards. Come party with us at local Brewing Co.'s Tap House at this beautiful venue. Give another pan. It's good. So welcome back everyone to DNM Cast episode 15 now. We have our first guest in a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Which we're very excited for. And I'll throw it over to Diezel to introduce the guest.
So this is well-known Timothy from MAFS, Married at First Sight. What were you like before Married at First Sight? You were in real estate.
Tim.
Yeah, you were Tim. You were just Tim.
I changed my name to go on the show.
Oh, really? What's your real name? Timothy?
It is Timothy, but because there was another Tim on the show,
Yeah.
I drew the short straw and got Timothy, which sucked. I really pushed back on it, but they weren't having it. So,
Like Timothy?
yeah, I don't.
No.
Yeah, the only time I ever got called Timothy was in court, and when I was in trouble whenever I'm in trouble, I get called that.
Yeah.
Well, we can call you Tim.
It's dude, we're stoked to have you on. So thanks for your time, and
No worries.
we're looking forward to it. So jump straight into it.
Yeah, sweet.
So we'll start with the obvious. So MAFS. Just tell us how that came about, what it was like for you, your experience on there.
I think I applied for the show many years ago, and then each year I'd meet somebody so I wouldn't go on the show, and then finally all the stars lined up that I had the time, and so yeah, I went on, and it was interesting.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on now you've been on one as well, the reality show concept, I guess, was it different to as it seems, or how they portray it and how you watch it, how you view it?
See, my perception of it was completely how I seen it play out is exactly how I seen it on the TV.
Yeah, wow.
Yet everyone talks about the edit. And look, there were a couple minor things, but overall it was pretty normal. Yeah. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do they ever do they ever script it? So they say like, it's not scripted.
It's probably an NDA here or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
No. I can say that. Like, nothing's ever scripted.
Yeah, okay.
We're all too stupid to read a script. Otherwise, we'd be fucking actors, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And trust me, most of those people don't have the talent to be actors. So we're reality people.
Yeah.
I'll throw myself in the same category as that too.
Yeah.
I don't think I could act. Yeah.
No, that's right. So obviously you were partnered up with Lucinda.
Yep.
What was that like? Talk us through your relationship with her, if you want.
It's
don't have to
such a
mention
strange
it.
concept, Married at First Sight.
It is.
It's
because
like
they
very
partner you up with obviously someone you don't know. You don't even know what you're getting yourself into. What were you thinking when you were like standing there at the aisle and you see her walk? If that makes sense. Do you want to comment? Do you want to comment on that? You don't have to.
Oh no, I actually do. I'm just trying to think of a word, how to phrase it.
Yeah.
You blokes are single?
Yeah.
We're single, yeah.
All single.
Yeah.
So imagine, and look, you've all been on a Tinder date, right?
Yeah.
And let's say even we all embellish, whether it's photos, whether it's what shit we'll put up with, it's what we're looking for. We all embellish it a bit, right?
Yeah.
How many good Tinder dates have you been on that you've rocked up and gone, oh, this is all right?
Yeah, true.
Very fucking few.
Yeah. Not many.
There you go. Yeah. He's being honest. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine doing that on national TV and it's like,
fuck.
Exactly.
What have I got myself into? Is that kind of...
Exactly, because you got to think there's 180 production staff at that wedding.
Yeah.
It looks like a movie set.
Yeah.
And you know for a fact that when you're on that Tinder date, you're like, wouldn't have picked this?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have picked... So that's a bit... Look, I'm not her cup of tea by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
We had 2 care packages sent. Mine was 12 cases of booze and hers was relationship books. I mean, the fuck is that going to work, huh?
Yeah.
I just want to get smashed the whole time and she wanted to delve into feelings.
Was the alcohol there to put up with it or was it...
It was there to bribe everyone.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, so since MAFS, have you, I guess, has it changed your life? Obviously, it's given you a lot more followers, I guess, as well. And
Definitely. It changes certain aspects of it. You can't sort of screw up in public.
yeah.
Even more so than ever before. You sort of think, oh, yeah, you can't. You got to be a little more. I wouldn't say careful. You're under the spotlight. It doesn't matter where I've done a lot of traveling over the last couple of months. I've been I went to pick up a plane and then I drove back. So we stopped in all these little small towns. And what you don't realise, and I didn't realise, it doesn't matter whether you're in Melbourne or you're in the middle of nowhere, somebody knows you.
Yeah.
It's the strangest thing to be getting fuel in a little outback town, and then somebody goes, "Hey, are you the guy?" And it's like,
I guess being careful is not the right word. To almost be aware that you're being held to a higher standard.
Totally. And it's good and bad. It's good because you can use that audience for good or you can use it for evil. And it was really funny. I got pulled over by the police. I was coming back into Victoria and I had the plane on the back of the trailer.
Yeah.
And so Highway Patrol, of course, are going to pull me over.
Yeah.
And they pulled me over and I pulled up next to a construction site and then a few of the boys recognised me. So as the cops going through all my details, these guys are coming up saying, "Oh, can I grab a photo? Can I get a selfie?" And then the cops sort of going, "I don't know who you are, but I need a selfie too."
That's good.
Gosh.
And
They let you off, all good?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, all good.
The lady that he was working with goes, "I know who you are." And I said, stupidly, she goes, "No, I don't want a photo with you." And I was like, okay, clearly not a fan.
Yeah. So you said you had a plane on the back of the car. Do you want to run us through what you're doing with that plane?
So it's a bit of a originally it was a social experiment. Originally, because of my flying days in the helicopter and stuff, I thought everyone sort of says, "Oh, I'd love to fly," or "I'd love to learn to fly," and so I thought I was trying to buy a set of boots online on Marketplace. I like buying RM secondhand, not take the first thing. I'm still cheap. And there was a plane for sale for 20 grand. And I thought, geez, that's cheap. I wonder if he'd take 15 grand.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Oh, would you take $15,000 for it?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So I bought the plane.
I bought a plane.
And then I thought, okay, I don't know how to fly a plane, which is another little hurdle or barrier to get over. And then I thought, okay, what about I could learn to fly this thing and buy it for under 20 grand. And then I just expanded on that idea and went, fuck it, why don't I just fly around Australia? I was watching a couple of videos on Instagram and there's these guys in Hawaii that fly the gyrocopters and they're just sort of sitting there looking at the beach as they're flying along. Yeah. And I thought, geez, what about if I just flew around the beaches of Australia? So I mapped it all out. It's about 17,000 kilometres. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to do.
Do you have a timeline for that when you want to do it?
I want to do it within I want to do the trip. It'll take about 4 weeks to do, weather pending. And within the next 2 months, I had to get a couple things changed on the plane. It was air cooled, so I had to get a liquid cooled engine to fly in the heat. But it is a small. It falls under a certain weight category. So it falls under a home built or ultralight. Yeah. Which means I don't need a pilot's license. I need what's called a pilot certificate, which I didn't know.
Is that easier to get?
You can be up and going in 10 hours.
Shit. Oh wow, that's probably a fucking concern.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a concern. So normally people, because I've had a few airline pilots that have reached out to me now that want to help me sort of along the way, and they have all said, it's not an easy trip to do. Yeah. And a couple of them have done it like in normal planes. There's things I can't fly into restricted areas. I can't fly into air traffic control because I won't have the training. I'll just know how to point it and follow the beach.
Fuck. Does that scare you?
Two things are going to happen. It's going to be an awesome adventure or it'll be on the news.
Yeah.
What does it look like planning a trip like that?
Well, what it is you'll have to map out, you'll have to get cross country. So you'll look at your winds for the day, you look at how much fuel, then you'll look at where you want to fly to. Yeah. I was coming back from Queensland the other day and I mistimed. I didn't realise coming south from Dubbo that all the fuel stations are on the north side. I thought when I got through Dubbo, all good, I'll be able to just get some fuel on the other side, but there wasn't. Then I thought, I've got 80 Ks left. I'll be right. It's only 60 to the next destination.
Yeah.
I made a wrong turn and I got to the next destination it was on 0. And when I got into that town, they didn't have any fuel stations.
No.
So then I had to buy some fuel off the guy at the pub.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, but he knew who I was, which was handy.
Yeah.
But
cut your deal.
when it comes to a plane, you just can't. You need a helicopter's a lot easier. You can just sort of go, hey, there's enough room for me to land. A plane, you got to map out each day
runway
where
and
you
shit,
want to
yeah.
go to. Yeah,
And so you fill up, what's kilometre wise a range for
about 800 kilometers apparently.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad for
bad.
I think it's a four cylinder engine.
So
yeah.
so if either of us had 15 grand or like 20 grand laying around, we could purchase a plane within a day, be up in the air. Is that
Up in the air in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So you don't actually realise how
how accessible it is?
how accessible and easy it is.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Wow.
And well, the funny thing, because I will be blogging it and filming it.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about it is the airports that I'll be allowed to land at, there's not going to be a lot there. So I'm going to have to. There'll be a lot of hitchhiking and
Yeah.
sleeping in shitty places.
That's part of it.
For fuel?
That's good.
Yeah, for fuel, because I'm not going to be able to just pull up to an airport with air traffic control. If you take Moorabbin's air traffic control, Essendon is, you gotta find one of those little ones that don't have air traffic control and hope that they sell fuel. And if they don't, then you'll grab your jerry cans out of the back and start walking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
a pretty exciting
You're going
trip.
to be bringing a Tinder date or a friend or anything?
You know, I need the weight, so I can't.
What is the weight capacity? What can you bring with you?
Basically, me and a bag.
Yeah.
That's
it.
really it.
Yeah.
The less weight you have, the better it's going to go on fuel, and the more distance you'll get.
Yeah.
But I'll take a small amount of camping gear
Yeah. Yeah.
and a little bit of food that if I get stuck, and as
Non-perishables, yeah.
much water as I can,
Yeah.
as weight wise will let me.
That's
Yeah.
good. Wow. It should be fun.
Yeah,
Can't wait to watch that. That'd be good as.
Well, let's take a couple steps back. You mentioned helicopter.
Yes.
We've seen obviously stories of you back in the day. I don't know what country it was. I didn't really pick up on it.
It was Canada to America.
Canada or America, yeah.
You got caught up in a little scuffle.
I got caught up in a scuffle, yeah.
Yeah. What were you thinking? What people?
I wasn't.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
How old were you at the time?
Yeah.
So
I was 30, I was 31.
okay,
Yeah.
Young. Yeah.
And same thing is I took one lesson. I look, overall, I reckon before I flew that helicopter, I had somewhere between 5 and 10 hours.
Yeah.
But I'd never actually flown a helicopter without an instructor, without a checklist. I'd never flown solo. I was really I was pretty good at hovering, and that's where I'd left it. I had no navigation, no radio, airport.
So how did you get caught? Could be a reason why you got caught, because you were.
No, I never got caught actually doing it. I was a pretty good pilot.
Oh right. Yeah.
Even though I wasn't a pilot. In America, they've got a thing called conspiracy. So
Yeah.
if a couple of people say that you've done it,
So someone rolled on you.
somebody rolled on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew the guy that was going to roll on me. I definitely
Yeah.
knew when I met him that he wasn't, there was something about him I didn't trust.
Yeah. Do you regret your decisions? Well, obviously you do. But
Totally, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Did it teach you anything for now?
Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
Don't fly weed in the back of the chopper. I've often said this about jail, that it's a massive social experiment.
Yeah.
It's the amount of people and stories that you actually hear, and people's thought process behind either making a mistake or knowing what they do, or a career criminal it's fascinating, because some people just make a bad decision once in their life, and some people it's a way of life. and how you handle that situation is all handled differently.
That's what I really like. Actually, after watching a couple of interviews, that's something you preach heavily on: making a mistake and learning from it, and just progressing and not letting that define you. And that's what was funny was when we found out you were coming on. Like Luke and Diezel said, oh, MAFS, or like, yeah, that whole story. But what first came to me was the very recently you called out a certain news personality for his antics while interviewing a young Indigenous boy.
Yes.
That's what came to mind for me.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The video went viral.
Yeah, it went very viral. And I guess that was well, like the news anchor brought up something from the past. He made a mistake and learnt from it. Now he's won this and he's being shamed for the past. Have you like had anyone in your life like kind of like try to tear you down because you made that mistake in the past? Or
Oh, totally. 100%. Yeah. Yep. And I guess coming out with it was actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it has been hanging over my head for years.
Yeah.
I've admitted it to all my closest people around me, and generally, if I'm seeing somebody or on the show, I admitted it to Lucinda after day 3. I said, "Look, there's something I haven't told anyone," and so I'm pretty upfront with it. I wasn't upfront with Channel 9.
You have to be now. Yeah.
But. Yeah, nobody can hold over my head anymore.
They genuinely didn't know when you were going on MAFS that you had been to jail.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Would that have affected you?
Probably.
Yeah, they wouldn't have put me on.
It's definitely like one of those things. It's like sitting over your head. You either like come clean about it before it's too late, and people make it this massive thing that you supposedly lied about by not saying anything, or you just come clean about it, cop it on the chin, and say made a mistake, learnt from it, which is what you did to it to an extent. You waited till they let you on, and then you.
Yeah, I mean. Everything that affected you in the past makes you who you are today.
100%.
So if you change one, there's fascinating movies behind it. Whether it's that movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, Sliding Door. If you change this one thing, I think experience what I experienced. I'm very empathetic. I feel I'm very empathetic, and there's these feelings that I have that I don't think without all the experiences I've had I would have experienced. Yeah.
So we'll quickly bounce back to jail. I read somewhere that while you were in jail, how long were you there? Sorry.
I was there just under 2 years. It wasn't a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read that during that 2 years, tragedy struck twice for you, which is pretty disappointing.
Totally. Yep.
And that's just how is that mentally for you being, I guess, isolated in a cell and having shit like that happen?
Well, the first one was my mum passed away.
Yeah.
So mum, and I got that in a letter, and that's where you really have, because I was very close to my mum, and that's where you've really got to train.
Yeah.
You got to train your mind not to lose your mind, because there's nobody in the feds that are going to come along, give you a hug or go for a walk or let's go get a beer or let's get a burger. You're there, and you've got to train your mind. You've got to talk to yourself essentially, and I remember talking to myself a lot, and just sort of saying this won't be forever at some point, and I'd sort of put my emotions into a box and deal with them and I think a lot of guys do that, and I'll deal with them when I've got the ability to deal with them.
And the resources as well.
Yeah. Because it just, and then the second one was obviously my brother passing away, is I didn't find that out till the day I got out of prison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that deliberate by your family or?
Yeah. They didn't tell me until I got back to Australia. Yeah.
Wow.
Did you have exercises that you did to help yourself to train your mind? Did you have people that you were talking to there, or was it you were strictly isolated and it was just kind of within you to?
It's within you. There's nobody to talk to, and they don't offer it. I think you can talk to a chaplain. I never used it, and it wasn't like a normal prison. It was like holding facilities, FTX, the federal detention centres. So predominantly they were buildings. They didn't have a yard. You couldn't go outside. It wasn't like normally you see on TV. But in regards to keeping your mind straight, you can't, as much as you want to let negative thoughts come in, you've got to train yourself, because I knew that there was this big thing outside, but I wouldn't I wouldn't let that negative thought come in because it wouldn't help me in the situation I was in. Even though I wanted to fall apart, I couldn't fall apart. I've had battles with my own mind or depression, especially depression and mental health over the last, I'd say for the last 10 years, whatever. Yeah. But now that, funny you just say that, now that if I look back on it, I tend to find it was easier then because you had no other resources and I couldn't blame myself because I'm in a situation that I can't access anything. Yeah. Yet when you're outside and you're in your apartment or dealing with life, you kind of get down on yourself a bit that you've got all this opportunity and you've got all these things to do or place to go or people to see, yet you still feel like shit. So I think it's a little bit harder on the outside and the inside because you don't have those external pressures. Yeah. The only pressure you've got is to get up and eat 3 meals a day. And sometimes you wouldn't do that, but nobody gives a shit, so it's completely up to you. Yeah.
100%. So back to the other side of it. So coming out of prison and back to Australia, especially after committing like international crimes, doing international time, what did it look like coming back? Did you have any, I guess, heat on you or like?
No, it was really weird because I got deported back to Australia. Found out my brother had passed away. So I spent about a month, maybe a month and a half in Australia. But essentially I was living in Canada. I'd been living there most of my life. So I wanted to get back to, I had 2 dogs over there and all my friends were over there. And after you've spent 10 or 15 years in a place, that's your friends sort of become your family. So I really needed to get back to normality for me. So I just jumped on a plane, went back, got a job with my old boss and essentially just slid back into my old life before that small portion came out and lived relatively just there was no problems. I knew I couldn't go to the US, but the crime did come back years later to bite me in the ass is when the Canadian government found out that I had a criminal record in the United States. That makes you inadmissible to live in Canada. So I've got some 22 years living in a country and then I get a letter saying you've got to be out in 10 days. Oh, wow. So that actually floored me.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, just like even given how closely USA and Canada are related, like getting a job over there, if like how long can you keep that a secret until like they find out or go like, because it doesn't show up on you, if a Canadian employer goes through your record, will it show up that you've spent time?
No, it doesn't show up anywhere. Wow, except the kind. It's different. It's different. What they've got called a prisoner exchange. Yeah. So if you get a bunch of time and you're in a foreign country, some countries have got an exchange where you can. Because I actually met one Australian guy once, and he was getting picked up by the feds to come back to Australia to on a prisoner transfer. Yeah. And most Canadians get locked up in America. After about a year, they qualify for the exchange.
They can go back home.
So then they go back home. You do get, in Canada, you do get resentenced because the laws are a lot harsher in the US than they are in Canada. So a lot of the guys would actually get sent back to Canada, get resentenced, and by that time they'd only have a year or so to go. Yet if they were in the States, they may have a decade to go.
Yeah. Was that ever an option for you, or just weren't there long enough to come back?
I just wasn't there long enough, and I kind of dug my heels in a little bit and thought, look, I've fucked up here. I've done something wrong to this country, so I'll just sit it out.
Can you still talk to your relationships back in Canada?
Yeah, I'm still got some really good mates back there, and it was mostly, I would say half my life was spent in Canada. I definitely miss it, and if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Can you visit Canada, or can you just not? You can't even go in there. You're barred.
Banned for life.
Fuck, that's bullshit.
And the US. Yeah. And that's what I'll say is I met
and the US.
And the US.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But what you don't realise about the laws is, and this gets back to those small decisions.
Yeah.
If you get a drink driving charge, here in Australia makes you inadmissible to those two countries.
You can't go there.
No.
Fuck me.
You've got to apply for visas and they're not automatically granted. And it's not a cheap, I think it's about $5,000.
Yeah.
You've got to apply to the US. You've got to get a waiver. It's just not, we'll go to the US. You can't muck around with another country's law. Like I had another friend the other day that was going over and was going to take some work things.
Yeah.
You don't realise that if you take these things, that's considered work.
Yeah.
And if they think that you're going to work, it makes you inadmissible to go back there between 5 and 10 years.
Wow.
So you've got to be so careful. Like drugs today, it's a pretty common thing. But once you enter a border, they have access to your computers, to your phones, to everything. So if you've got one night you and the boys partying, you're not allowed in, and you won't be allowed in for years.
Yeah. Oh, it sucks.
Wow.
That we'll bring it back to like I guess now. So I've got here you own a gin distillery.
No, I don't own the gin distillery anymore.
You don't?
Brush past
that got raided.
Oh really? Was that?
Was
that
because it was because of that current affair story.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to reapply with my name on the license, which if you don't get the license, it means you bought nothing. So
Didn't want to risk it.
Back to, obviously you've got 10 days to move out of Canada.
Yeah.
What short-term plans and long-term goals did you have for yourself to push forward into a normal life or a life that you wanted to pursue?
Well, those 10 days, so I went to court and negotiated. They were actually really good to me. Canada was really good to me. And so was the US. They gave me 6 weeks. Originally, you're supposed to be out in 10 days, but because I've been there 20 years, I'm no flight risk. I need, I've got dogs, I've got new vehicles, and just it takes, it takes a long time to pack up.
Definitely.
And it's the first time, if you watch these videos and people that have got a diagnosis, like unfortunately their time's up in life and it's expiring, and they always say that you run out of time. That's actually what it felt like. It's like, okay, I'm never going to be able to come back. So it's like I want to see the Rockies in the winter. So I went on a driving trip there. I owned a big boat. I had a jet ski. You don't realise in Canada, nobody buys a boat in the winter. So I can't sell any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I just remember, and then stuff is one thing, but experience something, and I sort of put a bit of stuff aside. I wanted to see things that I wasn't going to see again. So experience the Rockies, hanging out with friends that I know that will never travel.
Yeah.
That when you say goodbye, you mostly know that it'll be the last time you're going to see them.
Yeah.
So I experienced all of that, and I just remember in the last week going, I've still got to do this and this and this, until the day comes. They don't give you an extension. It's like
You got to go.
they say, meet us at the airport. They've got your passport. Meet us at the airport at 11 o'clock. And
Do they pay for your ticket at least?
if they pay for your ticket, you've got to reimburse the government. I just paid for my own ticket because they had given me that extra time. But I ran out of time. I left my boat with somebody that, he just called the other day and said, what do you want me to do with this? Because it was dry storage. It's too expensive to get it over. I said, mate, if you want to have it, have it. If the engine's needed.
Yeah.
The jet ski, I left it I gave it to somebody else, and you just run out of time.
Yeah.
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 All right. So with no gin distillery, what are you doing with yourself these days?
I've been doing some professional speaking. I always used to say public speaking. Public speaking is different than professional speaking. So just
Is it more motivational type shit?
yeah. People want to hear. I mean, I learn from other people's stories on a couple of podcasts that I've been on. The interviewer has been fascinating. So don't you tend to find that each person that I love going to hear people's stories and people speak, even if I can get one thing out of what they say for a weekend.
Yeah.
So I've done a bit of that. I'm doing some life coaching,
Yeah.
and predominantly that's what I've been doing.
it.
Yeah.
Love life now. How's that? Do you get many after the show? Obviously, did you get many? Would you say gold diggers in your DMs?
There's no goal. The people, what I tend to find is people are generally great on social media.
Yeah.
There's a whole different community on social media, and I've just taken a break for a couple of weeks off social media, and I get a lot of messages going, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" And if you don't reply back, some people are really pushy. And then if you don't I don't reply to everyone anymore. It's just you get a lot of messages.
Yeah.
And it gets tougher.
Yeah.
It gets tougher because everything you do is under the microscope.
Can't fuck
everything.
Well, we're kind of finding that out now. We're having things where we're just like, shit, is this the right thing to say? Or like,
Right.
even when we go out, we can't be ourselves in a way because we're constantly like thinking like we don't want to stuff up in a way that we don't realize that it's bad. Not that we do anything bad, but like, like if you go
Just
out
really conscious of everyone around you.
and you scull a drink in front of people, it's just like some people will take that completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to enjoy ourselves and have fun in
Yeah.
a way. But we're slowly trying to find a way to still
I
enjoy
can
it.
see how people in the with a certain amount of eyes on them that they prefer to go to somebody's house or
100%,
rather
yeah.
than go out and have that. I can't imagine what it's like for somebody with talent.
Oh my god.
I can't imagine these like an A-list celebrity.
Yeah, 100%.
As much as you think about how much it would be fascinating. I've just finished reading Matthew Perry's book.
Oh, yeah.
And how they're under scrutiny and under the spotlight. You would have to isolate yourself at certain parts just to have a cleanse. Yeah.
With obviously been on MAFS now, I saw a funny article where you were asked if you go on another one, like The Bachelor, and you're like, "Fuck no." What did you say there? You were like, "I don't want to chase the girls or something. I want the girls to chase me."
There's no way I'd do another relationship show. I just there's no way.
No Love Island.
No, I don't have the body for Love Island.
I see you on Love Island. You look good
What's
on Love
that?
Island. You look good on Love Island.
The problem is that most people burn the joint down. I mean, I've run into a couple of those blokes at different functions.
Yeah.
Gotta say, there's a lot of fuckwits on that show. I thought we were full of fuckwits. That takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
We ever with obviously the person you're with and then think, fuck, I wish I was in that relationship. Like,
Wish I got that
put
one.
with that person.
Do I know everyone on a personal level now, so I wouldn't say I wasn't attracted to anyone else on the show.
Yeah. No,
Good
good
answer. Love that.
Good answer. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably thanks for that chat. We'll move on to the next segment.
Yep.
Which will be probably Riz or Miss. So
Riz or Miss?
Riz or Miss straight away. So you know what Riz is?
No.
So Riz is basically like your ability to pick up
Like
the
your
other
game.
gender.
Like
Okay.
you've got game.
Pick up lines, and this is a segment Riz or Miss where people send in their instances of Riz or like their stuff they've encountered,
Fuck, I'm
including
learning
Riz.
something new.
Teach you the
And
word.
it's basically their times that they've picked up someone of interest, and we rate it. See if it's. Last week we had a really stalky one, which is fucked up. So they're pretty funny. So
We have a few more this one, and this is Riz or Miss Nightclub Edition. So
Okay.
nights out.
Yeah,
Or
it's a very common theme. We've had a lot sent in, and for some reason, a lot of nightclub ones. So
they like the nightclub. So is it weird to get the bartender's number? Pros and cons. Is it Riz? I feel like this is my take on it. I feel like it's not Riz because everyone's asking for the bartender's number.
I feel like it's very
think
rare to
It's
get.
an authority position. Is it almost
Yeah.
not authority, but
I
like
must have been a fuckwit as a bartender. The only person I got their number was a bunch of gangsters. That's how I got into this whole mess. I was a bartender.
Oh, really? Is that how it all started?
That's how it all started. I was a bartender at a nightclub.
And the one person who got put you in fucking jail.
Yeah.
Riz or Miss for No, maybe that's a miss, that one.
Yeah,
we'll
that's a
say-
miss.
we'll say it's a
Yeah.
miss.
Don't do that. Yeah.
All right. Do you do the next one or you want to do it?
I'll do it.
All right.
One time, I was in a club. I knew the girl I liked was in line, so I asked security if I could walk out, put the jump in my car, and if they'd let me straight back in after I got back from the car. So this guy's already in. She's obviously in line.
Yeah.
He said, no worries. I strategically timed my re-entry right when she was at the front of the line. I then said to security, don't worry about her, she's with me. And they let us both in. My crush was super impressed. Is this Riz?
I'd say it is.
I say it's Riz.
That's game.
That's
Yeah.
game. That's elite.
That's game.
Something Tim would do.
Yeah.
It's
That's,
strategic. It's like thinking ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
It's like-
that's so much game.
Yeah.
Like that's A plus.
Yeah.
Like, no one's doing that. You should start implementing that in your.
All right.
In your
So
reservoir.
this one is going to lead to a separate conversation on. Well, I'll read it out first. So this one is somewhat related to nightclubs. I was constantly trying to get this one girl's attention on Hinge. However, no amount of super likes seemed to get her attention. Fast forward.
That's super likes are bullshit. That's such bullshit. The poor blokes that own Tinder have just made so much money from poor, unsuspecting fuckwit single dudes.
Anyway, fast forward 2 months after giving up on dating apps, I saw her in person. Got to talking. Fast forward another 2 months. She is now my girlfriend. So before we start on that, thoughts on dating apps. What are your thoughts on dating apps, Tim?
Did you?
I heard some incredible stats about dating apps. Dating apps were designed for women.
Oh, really?
Really?
They're not designed for men. Did you know that only 4% of women swipe to the right, yet 75% of men swipe to the
That
right?
surprised me.
Really?
That does
Yeah.
not surprise me. Yeah.
100%. And you think by, I've gone through everybody. You think I'll just restart it, and then you notice you have that big. It's like, geez, there's a lot of great looking girls on here. I just had to restart it.
Yeah.
The stats are the same.
Yeah.
It's not designed.
For men.
So it's all up to really the girl. So
It's all up to the girl.
the
the
relationships
power.
all come out of how the girl reacts.
What about you, Luke? What are your thoughts on dating apps?
I think they're good to meet people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I found that I was living in Berwick, which is like the southeast, and I found I knew everyone there, but I didn't really expand on everyone that I knew until I was like, I didn't really use them that much. But on dating apps, you just see there's a lot of other people around. But yeah, I feel like when I was on Hinge, there was a lot of people that would be like, oh, I've seen you on Hinge, and that's how we ended up talking on a night out.
Right.
Is there a reason why I didn't use it too much?
No, there wasn't a reason why I didn't
Get banned on.
Okay, I'm banned on Tinder and Hinge. So got banned on both. So I don't know why I got banned, but yeah. For
You
some
know
reason
why
I'm
you got banned.
I genuinely don't know why I'm banned on Hinge.
I
no.
think dating. We'll go to this soon, but I think dating apps it's almost like a game. It's like it's a video game or something. Like you can't take it seriously. Some guys and girls probably as well try to sweat the fuck out of it.
I tend to find it's a pacifier for single people.
Yeah.
Do you know that like the one-armed bandits, the poker machines, the old
yeah.
people are just, and they don't react when they win. They just sit there and they hit that one
keep
button,
tapping.
and then it'll make all those sounds and
Yeah,
everything
it's like
when
cool.
but they keep doing it.
Yeah, dating apps.
For when I used to be on the apps, same thing. You'd be flicking through. And it'd say you match, but you wouldn't even read the profile. It'd just come up for that split second. Then you just keep
Scrolling and
keep
stuff,
scrolling. Yeah.
So yeah, back to this. How he's got no luck on Hinge, and super likes and all, nothing. Then 2 months later, he's seen her in person. Implied probably Riz, and now they're dating. So that's Riz.
I wonder if he's walked up and goes, "Hey, I've sent you 7 super likes." Like,
Well, it's
why
really
haven't you
good
replied to me?
because if you can plant the seed so easily through like a Tinder or Hinge.
Yeah.
Because if you do see him out, you have that connection to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost embarrassing.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like, oh, really? Yeah, I get 100 likes a day.
I think you can plant the seed a little bit, definitely.
I had a situation. This would have been going back 3, maybe 4 years ago, where I met somebody on one of the apps, and I messaged her a few times and never ever got back to me. Years later, she runs into me and then she goes, "Oh, I'm such and such. We matched a bunch of times. You talked to me," and then I looked and I went, "Huh." I was really keen on it and didn't look like the picture.
Oh, really?
Got catfished.
And you were kind of fortunate
So
she
you're
didn't reply.
And I'm just like, shit just works out sometimes.
Maybe that was the thing.
Water just finds its own level.
Yeah.
So, trying to write the rules.
Have you heard the catfish story I did on my dad?
No.
So
I don't know how I feel about this
yeah,
story.
it's
Bad, really. I
it's a roller coaster, but it's fucked up.
feel bad for your dad. Wow. Gosh.
Anyways, moving on. That was a long story, but
well,
Big Brother advice? Or?
We'll roll into
Yeah.
Big Brother advice
So, yeah.
where People send in things they want advice on, and we've got a few here that you can help us answer.
Yeah.
There's one tailored to you as well.
One of my friends, I told him that you were getting on, and we tailored a question to you. That you want to know. So one specific to you. But Tom, you want to start us off with the first one?
Fuck, here we go.
I can read it if you want. Can we read it?
Hey boys, wanted to message in for a Big Brother advice segment and just want your opinion. Stay anonymous. Okay, about 3 years ago, one of my best mates passed away suddenly without any signs or like physical signs. Since then, my group of mates seem to go downhill, which is like getting involved with things like drugs and smoking, etc. I've been worried about them all since and have only recently just started to get away, but I was wondering if I should do something. Do I tell them my concerns or just leave them to make their own decisions? If I was to tell them my concern, would that make me an arsehole? Cheers, boys. Love the potty. Wow.
I feel like I can't really relate to this because that hasn't happened to me. Maybe.
Neither, yeah.
I don't know.
You've dealt with loss, Tim. And I guess this is loss and the effects, the external effects of loss, of a lost loved one.
I'd say something for sure.
You say something?
Yeah. I've been in the same situation even lately.
Yeah.
That I feel a couple of friends just taken it too far and I'd say something.
Yeah, it's tough to, I genuinely as well haven't been in this situation at all, but it is sometimes tough to distinguish when a person is going off the rails, I guess, or struggling.
Look, I heard this thing about drugs the other day and I'm not here if you do it, you don't do it, that's completely up to you. But I did hear this one statement and I think Theo Vaughan said it. You never see anyone standing on stage and thanking, look, if I didn't have cocaine and alcohol in my life, I wouldn't have been able to achieve everything I've achieved. Just thanks to me being able to stay up and stay hammered, I've been able to get my dreams accomplished.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So nothing good. I've never seen anything good come of it.
Yeah.
So I think in that situation, you would tell them and just tell them from your point of view. I think in an appropriate environment, not if they are on drugs in that moment, tell them in an appropriate environment and set it up in a positive way or try in the best.
100%. Lunchtime on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
That way that they've worn it off from the weekend and they're thinking about next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the next one. This is tailored to you. So it says, hi, DNM. I'm friends with the boys, and when they told me they were having you on, I was super excited. Huge fan. I had a question. As somebody not on social media, would you recommend going on a reality TV show? If so, any tips on getting on a reality TV show despite not having a following? So my friend doesn't have a following. He doesn't even have Instagram, but he's seen you on a reality TV show and he wants to perhaps be in a position like that in the future. What would you say to him?
Okay, before I went on reality TV, I had 95 people on TikTok and I had 290 people on Instagram. I didn't have a following. And essentially, look, you can come out of it with one or you can come out without one. I mean, one of the guys from the show, Ben, I mean, he'll go down in history as being on Married at First Sight for the longest amount of time and having the least amount of people.
Oh, really?
I mean, how do you go on the number one show for 6 or 7 weeks and end up with 5,000 people? So it just comes down to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's TV. I actually think social media is an interesting way of starting, of just building. It's going to come down to life itself, building any sort of a following. I went out with, I just caught up, we did a live together, which is El Ray. She's an influencer from Melbourne. Yeah, right. And I haven't actually been around, because I haven't been around a TikTok or Instagram people. I've never been around. And I was surprised when we caught up and she was with her mum and her auntie, like just walking down Chapel Street, like how big of a following you can create on social media. And it gets back to that thing. Social media it's a TV show. Everyone can be on TV. It's your platform to do with whatever you want. Yep. Social media is one of the greatest things invented, along with one of the worst things that was invented. Yeah. It's how you use it.
I feel like, I have no idea, but I feel like some shows definitely will pick you if you have a following. Versus someone, two exact same people, one with following, one without. Shows like probably Love Island and shit will choose a person with following.
Yeah.
But I think like MAFS, surely not. That's more character based.
Yeah, it's all these shows are looking for certain characters, and it's whether, don't take it personally, it's whether you fit the bill. It's no different than being, applying for a movie or whatever. that they've got a character. If you fit into that, great. If you don't fit that mold, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just they don't have a spot.
Yeah, definitely. So you just say just about being you and being the person that you want.
You got to be you.
Yeah.
You got to be you. And I always said on the show that they made it very clear in the debrief that make sure you walk away from the experience and say everything you want to say because you don't get a second go at it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people fell in love with your character because it was you. I think a lot of people on the show can get carried away being someone else where you...
Well, Ben tried to narrate what he thought the producers or the show wanted to see.
Yeah.
Where I always had this deal that I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I had no clue what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And rather than try and do it twice, I would go downstairs, go to the gym, hang out. And then when the crew's ready to film, I'd go upstairs and we'd talk about whatever we had to talk about, whether it was the night before or whatever. But under no circumstances, if people have met me off the show or on the show, it's just how it was. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim, so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I think we got a bit of insight on everything that was going on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming
No worries,
on.
boys.
Shout
Doing a
out.
good job.
Nah, thanks.
Shout out Local Brewing Co. Thanks for
Yeah.
watching, guys. See you next week.
We appreciate it so much. Bye.
Fuck.